All right, we started streaming. I'm just going to check here on the other end here and see if we're... Okay, it says we're starting. Okay, it looks like we're...
God, that's us.
Yeah, that's us. That's unfortunate, isn't it? It's a sad reality that we have to look into here. So we'll see how many people we get since the Oscars are starting to go up and running here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's happening today.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Oh, Far Out Idea is the very first chat. So I don't know if you have the chat up, but...
I can pull it up. I have like my
yeah.
like right here. I can pull it up.
Far Out Ideas, every time we do any sort of stream, anytime we tweet anything, anytime anything happens, he always just comments, smoke weed every day.
But I'm paying it back this time because I actually have listened to Emperor of Sand now.
Oh,
so
well, there we go.
I can't leave you hanging anymore, Far Out.
All right, so we got some people starting to jump on this here. So yeah, guys, we have...
How's it going, duds? We are duds.
Oh, yeah, duds.
Big duds.
Yeah. Everyone like my Virtual Boy shirt that I got from Etsy.
It's classy.
Now, it seems like it's too tight, but it's only because I've been lifting children up. Yesterday, I was lifting children, gaining some mass, guys.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's the contrast to me that makes him look swole.
Yeah, it's the it's still. It's
I have not been
that I'm
lifting
too
anything.
fat
I've been
because
lifting
this is you know, just nothing.
He's the defense. He's the defense. You're the DPS.
Yeah, it's the pecs. You know, it's the pecs, guys. I like to think I have muscle, but really it's like muscle, good musculature up here, and then it just goes to garbage. It's not like I'm not like big or anything, but it's like I've never been defined. I've always had like a 4-pack, and I've never been able to get the bottom 2 abs defined whatsoever. Never.
I'll get like wrinkles that look like they're in the spot of a 6-pack, but it's not. There's nothing there.
And I used to work out every day, like hard,
I remember,
like every day, and like karate, jiu-jitsu every day, going to the gym 3 times a week, like cardio, like just all sorts of crap. Never got those bottom 2. Never got those bottom 2. It's always just a touch of flab. And I'm just like, and I used to teach karate, so it'd be like I'm working out like 7 hours a day. And I just can't get the damn, I can't get those 2 bottom abs. Like, what is wrong with me? All right, Far Out Ideas. $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, Richie, great job. And then go figure, he says, smoke weed every day.
Well,
smoke weed every day.
So thank you for the gardening tips. We appreciate it. It's important to weed out your gardens. But here in Michigan, it's just nothing but ice. So we'll do that in the springtime.
Yeah, all the smoke gets blown.
Nightcore Hitman says, do you guys remember me? I will remember you. Will you remember me?
Ooh, this is...
Now you have to go into singing. When you drop in the album, let's go.
Don't let your life pass you by. Okay. All right. So anyways, everybody, we are Hard for Games. We have a very special guest. Jakejames Lugo is with us. He is a writer, a producer, content creator, video creator. In the video game industry, he's worked for websites like IGN, the Coalition, just a plethora of stuff that he'll go over in a little bit. But he has now decided that he wants to bring his career to an ultimate low and be a part of the Hard for Games H4G Gaiden podcast. But to our benefit, he has a ton of industry knowledge, and we figured we'd bring him on because we're talking about some industry stuff today, and he could definitely share his knowledge and experience with us. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to have a good conversation with somebody new.
Very cool.
So welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Again, I appreciate you guys. I'm humbled. I'm honored. And for the record, this is in a whole new low. This is where the big boys come to play. When you're legit, this is where you come. It's all I'm just saying. Okay, so anybody that wants to get into the industry, wants to do stuff on YouTube, wants to get into game stuff, if you're not on here, you're nobody. That's it.
That's right.
But I'm humbled. Again, I'm a fan of your guys' work. Some of my friends have been on here, and I've loved some of the stuff that you guys do. So I was like, you know what? Let me go chat it up with these guys because they seem pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're glad you're here. And I should warn everyone in the chat as well. We have what's called a bomb cyclone going on in Michigan right now. So
that's horrible.
I've lost power probably about 7 times today. So
I still think Bomb Cyclone is a great name for a band.
It is.
It's a horrible name.
So if suddenly the stream just kicks out, we'll get back on normally. The power outages have been like 5 seconds long, so there might be an interruption. I'm sorry, guys, but it hasn't gone out in a while, knock on wood, so hopefully we'll be okay. So anyways, let's go ahead and kind of do some of our continued introductions, and you know, we're going to do kind of a full interview with you, but did you want to talk a little bit, you know, kind of brief synopsis of your, you know, who you are, just so everybody who's joining now can kind of get an idea?
Yeah, sure, no problems. Like, again, like you guys said, I'm part of the video game industry. I'm someone who wants to be part of the games media or some significant figure and personality, an individual in this industry, because I love video games. Again, I've been gaming my entire life. Me and the Sega Genesis are like kind of intertwined. Literally, I was born in '88, and, you know, so it's right around that time frame. So we're like two peas in a pod. But I love video games. It's just something that has stuck with me throughout my entire life. I love the conversation about video games, you know, being part of those discussions, being part of all aspects of it, all platforms, all facets of it, all communities. You know, I call this the greater gaming community, which is like everything put together under one umbrella, which is like a whole plethora of people. And it's just something I love being a part of and engaging with, whether it's on social media, on YouTube, a whole bunch of different places. I mean, I do a lot of content all over the place, literally, like what you guys said. I write, I do podcasts, I do interviews, I do videos, I make, you know, all types of stuff for people, whether it's on a website or even on my own YouTube channel. I do a ton of stuff. Like every single week, I'm uploading multiple times throughout the week on top of everything else that I do. And I try to just, you know, make it a point to show people that not only I love games, that I love this industry, but I want to make it something that's fun for everybody else to be a part of, whether it's around me or other people, and just do things that I feel like are going to last and are really going to be something really cool that not only I'm going to be proud of, but people are really going to get a kick out of. So that's what I'm all about. That's, you know, what I've always been about.
Awesome. Now, I was watching some of your uploads from your panels that you did. Excuse me, I still have that cough that's like been lingering for a month.
You just said you were getting over it.
I am, but I'm still just a touch phlegmy.
Maybe the show is the problem.
Maybe the show is the problem. Yeah, maybe it's keeping me sick. But I was watching that, and you had mentioned that you had done a lot of guides, I believe.
Yes.
Would you mind just mentioning a couple of them that people may recognize that you did the guides for? I think on IGN. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I did the wiki guides. What they have is that they have the wiki section, which is, again, like similar to any other wiki, but as opposed to it just being for, like, you know, specific, like, random things, they have actual guides for big games that come out. You know, big release across all platforms, you know, Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox. And when I started about 2 to 3 years ago. My very first guide, which was kind of like my probation run, my trial run with them, was that I wrote the guide myself. Again, I did this all by myself. I wrote the guide for Freedom Wars on PlayStation Vita. That was my very first guide. And I did it, and I didn't get paid for it because I wanted to make a point that I could do it, because at the time, Podcast Beyond, you know, with Greg Miller, Colin Moriarty, Jared Petty, they were like really bigging up that game, and I wanted to be associated with that and show them that I could do this stuff. And not only was Jarod at the time, he was the senior editor for guides, you know, for IGN, specifically for wiki guides. He saw that, he believed in me. I did a couple other guides for him that I wasn't even assigned. I did stuff for, I believe it was for Altered Beast. I did it for Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix. And then from there, when I started being brought on in an official capacity, I did it for Screen Ride on Xbox One. I did it for Kingdom on PC. I helped with the guide for Fallout 4. I was the person that went around and marked off where all the vaults and a lot of the other big points of interest were on different parts of the map. And I did videos for all the Easter eggs in Fallout 4, you know, stuff like that. I did the guide for Tekken 7 all by myself. I did the guide and the review and the video review for Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 all on my own. Again, it took a while, but I got it done. I did it for Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. I also did it for, I'm trying to remember, I did it for 2 WWE games, 2K17 and 2K18. And I did a couple others as well that, again, I know I'm forgetting at least a bunch more, but I've done a lot over the last couple of years, and it's been fun. It's been interesting. And, you know, here's one I could even remember that I just remember now. I did Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin and also Neo. You know, I did the DLC content for Neo, which is not easy. It's not fun. It's very ridiculous. You have to work on the game's time as opposed to your own time. But I was still the one that, at least, you know, to come forward and actually get it done. Another one that I could also mention, again, if they like come back, Nier Automata. What happened was at the time with IGN, there was a person that was assigned that for whatever reason they just stopped doing it. They didn't want to do it anymore. And I had to
Nier is a very depressing game.
I like it. I love the music and stuff. I think it's a cool game for what it is, you know, because Yoko Taro is like really weird and he's like really wacky. But like at the time, the person that was supposed to do it didn't get it done, and they just dropped it and dropped IGN like a bad habit, which was rude and not cool. So I had to step up and actually take care of business and actually get it done for them. So I've done a lot with as far as guides.
I definitely respect people that I have the patience to do guides, because holy crap. Like, they're so detailed.
Well,
you know
the other thing is that I only ever need it for, like, 1 or 2 items, but they still have to do the whole thing for me to even be able to search for that one thing.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Exactly.
That was me. That was me basically. Like, again, we have to play like almost every aspect of the games and actually do stuff like with achievements, Easter eggs, and a whole bunch of other stuff. The story. I had to do another one that I had to do more recently was Detroit Become Human. I had to do the entire good playthrough and actually do video and mark off, entire sections for every single chapter. Like, we have to be really diligent about that. And we also have to make sure that it has enough information for people that care about specific stuff that come up as they're trying to play the game. We have to write as if we're coming from the place of a person that just knows nothing about this game, that's totally dim-witted and just like completely out of whack, so we can help out more people.
Use the left joystick to move.
Exactly. Exactly. Literally.
That's hilarious. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and continue onward here. And again, I definitely have some more industry-related questions for you in the middle of the podcast, but I wanted to do a brief sort of mid-level introduction so people that are on now can kind of understand who you are, and then we'll get a little bit more into it in a little bit here. So we do have a couple of announcements here. So one of the more interesting ones is that Hard for Games will be doing a charity event soon. I don't know when, but sometime soon. I think probably springtime or like late spring. We're going to be working with the ASPCA. If you're unfamiliar, actually Molly works for them, Neil's wife. And
oh yeah, we did have this conversation, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, it's coming to me now.
So basically what they do is a lot of animal rescuing. So when you hear stories about people that are abusing dogs and cats and pets and putting them in like sort of filth or abusive situations, the ASPCA comes in and rescues these animals and helps, I believe, rehabilitate and find them homes, etc. Basically, a friend of ours, actually Epic Josh's, the guy on the wall, his brother's wife, so his sister-in-law works for them, and she has seen just the bottom of human society when it comes to treatment of animals. It's really sad. So we wanted to do a charity event. We wanted to do more charity events in general. But we're going to start with that one. It's probably going to be sometime late spring. But what we're going to be doing is kind of neat. So Dave Perfect 10 Perazzo has been making all of these like trinkets. So for example, here's all these coasters he made with our names. That's John, cool. Hard for Games, etc. Dan, it has, pretty much everybody here between this set and another one that he made. And he made a couple of them. And he also makes our 3D printed joysticks for our Patreon guys and gals. And he's also been working on, I'm going to pop this up here so our audience can see it. Let's see where it is. 3D printed N64 disk drive replicas of different colors with the Hard for Games logo on it. So I know that you can't see this here, but the audience can.
That is sneaky.
But obviously no one's going to think it's real. They're obviously fake because it says the Hard for Games. It has our logo and they're different colors.
I can see the picture of it now.
Okay, yeah.
That's actually pretty dope.
Yeah, so I think at some point we're going to be incorporating these into our Patreon rewards. But to start off with, what we're going to be doing is sort of a live stream charity auction is what I want to do. So we'll have a couple of different things that he made. I don't know how much we're going to make. Maybe it's a couple hundred, maybe it's 50, I don't know. But basically we're going to be like, okay, who wants this yellow fake 64 disk drive disc? And then we'll have people bid, and then we'll have someone, whoever bids the highest or whatever, we'll put in, via PayPal. And then what we'll do at the end of the week or whatever it is put up on our Instagram and Twitter and Facebook the receipt of us giving that money, the lump sum, to the organization, right? So I figured that this would be a good way for Hard for Games to kind of give back. It disgusts me what people do to these animals, so I figured that would also be a good thing to, help, these poor things out. So I need to wet my throat with some beer real quick.
I think it's really cool. That's for a very good cause.
Yeah, so that's the goal. And again, we're going to be incorporating some of this stuff into our Patreon rewards. But before we do that, we're going to be, testing these out in a sort of an auction scenario. And again, we don't know the date yet, but just wanted to let everybody know, generate a little bit of hype, keep on our Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff, because we'll be announcing it as we get a little bit closer. And then another quick announcement regarding our Patreon is that we'll be having a variety of new colors with our joysticks that we give out. But for those individuals that are the $5 tier and up per month, we have all of our Patreon supporters. They're allowed to ask us questions that we incorporate into this podcast. But we got a phone number, and you can actually leave us a voicemail that we will play on the podcast with a question. So we're going to be incorporating that for our Patreon supporters that are $5 and up. Those that aren't $5 and up, you can still ask a question. That's totally fine, but it just won't be on the voicemail. You won't hear your voice. But either way, just trying to think of some things to spice it up for you guys. And I feel like I've been talking for a while. Richie, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
I think that's a pretty cool endeavor, but I mean, the operations is usually more your side, so I don't have a whole...
That's true, but I want your opinion. I want your thought process on it.
I think that is a great shirt.
Thanks, dog. I appreciate it. I bought it off of Etsy. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and get into our first topic, which is Link's Awakening Remake on Switch. But before we do, let's take a look at the chat here, see if there's any comments that we should be responding to. Greetings, fellow hard gamers. Greetings, how hard are yours tonight? That's not appropriate. I am adequately hard tonight, thanks. Hello, says another person. How is
I hate to blame the victim, but we did name our show Hard for Games. We did really ask for it.
It's a very hardcore show. Only the hardcore of the hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. So, for those of you that are unaware, been living under a rock, Link's Awakening has gotten an announcement trailer for a remake. And I think I have the trailer up, and we're going to go ahead and play that on the vidya. For anyone that hasn't seen it, I'm going to cover up our sorry asses, Richie. Cover up
there you go. Yeah, get rid of all of you.
Yeah.
We don't want to see even a little bit.
Yeah, so, it starts off with this neat little thingy, but then let's skip right ahead into the gameplay here, which is very chibi, very cute. Definitely not a reimagining. Very much a remake of Link's Awakening, but in HD, slightly different perspective, not quite top-down, some sort of 3D camera elements where it moves up and down for perspective purposes. And I've noticed also a little bit of sort of vignetted blur on the sides sometimes, especially when you're outside. I don't know if they're going for sort of, maybe that's in the morning, maybe that's a sort of playing up the fact that Link's Awakening was a dream. I don't know.
Whoa. I haven't played the game yet. Why?
Son.
Oh, come on.
This is my first chance to play this game, and now why even bother?
It's almost older than us, Richie.
So much for that plan.
Are you going to tell me there's no Ganon in this game?
There isn't Ganon in the game.
Mind blown!
Not that I remember, anyways. Anyways, point is that it's a cutesy... Maybe I should get some water.
Maybe. That wouldn't be the worst idea, I don't
downing
think.
my beer here, I guess. Anywho's, so I wanted to get everybody's thoughts on this regarding the art style, regarding, whether you guys think that Nintendo will be adding any additional features. Like, for example, in the DX version of Link's Awakening, they added a colored dungeon, because in the original it was black and white. They want to take advantage of the original remake, the first remake. They colorized it, added a dungeon that was based on the different color schemes and such. Do we think that they'll add anything else, or do you think they'll go the lazy route that they normally go with Zelda, and anything that they remake is sacred, so they have to stay true to form and not adjust anything? What are our thoughts? Richie, go first.
Well, just sort of looking at the graphics, it's really polished. It looks really good. I liked what I was looking at there, and it looked like he's got smooth motion, all that good stuff. And I mean, it's Zelda. We know what the gameplay is going to be, more or less, and especially if it's like a faithful remake of Link's Awakening, everybody who played that knows what to expect. But I'm really excited. I think it looks like it's going to be a really well-made adaptation of the game, and like I said, I wasn't lying. The whole Game Boy era I kind of missed out on, so this is everybody loves this game that has played it, that I've talked to.
Yeah, sorry for...
And I want to be one of those guys. Not the guy. That game was way too hard. But I want to be one of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Jakejames, why don't you go ahead?
I'm kind of a similar mindset. I mean, I was actually pondering after I saw the trailer and I got excited for it. I was actually thinking at one point going back and doing a review on Link's Awakening DX. You know, not only so I could play through that now and kind of refresh, but also be able to compare and contrast by the time the new one comes out now. I think that the art style is great. I know some people weren't really down with it. They kind of akined it to a little bit to what Link Between Worlds was, but a little bit much more so kitty/chibi, which I actually like that for the older style Zelda games getting remade. And I think that this is also a first step to seeing some other older Zelda games get remade. I think this isn't the last one that we're going to see. I think that the next one up, though, however, for me personally, at least what I would hope so, would be the original NES Zelda getting a remake in this same vein. Because obviously, you know, people love their older Zelda games. Again, we have Breath of the Wild, which is new Zelda, modern Zelda, whatever Zelda is going to be eventually. And we love the old traditional style because we keep going back to those games. We keep buying them again and again on the eShop and all these different Nintendo platforms. So it only seems like right and it seems smart business for Nintendo to go back to some of these games and present it in a new way and get us to pay for them again. As far as like the other stuff for Link's Awakening, I think you're going to get everything that you got with the DX version of the game, but I think you also might get a few other extra little nods here and there, not only connecting to the timeline of Zelda. I think there's going to be little Easter eggs here and there. I think that maybe some of the older Easter eggs might get a little bit much more obvious or even, you know, enhanced in some way. Again, I don't know, just shot in the dark. There might be some extra stuff for those people that are probably experiencing it for the first time or people that really played it back then and want to kind of experience that same type of stuff with people that are just trying it out for the first time now. As far as, you know, anything else about it, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, not only how it feels to control, you know, on the Switch and stuff, even though I think it's going to be pretty much 1-for-1 compared to its Game Boy counterpart. But I think it's also going to be interesting to see if we get other extra stuff, kind of like a Master Quest or something like along those lines. You know, similar to some of the more, later Zelda games that got remade, like, you know, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, where we got those Master Quests on top of the original stuff with all its extra enhancements. This will be kind of cool to get something like that for Link's Awakening, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point about bringing back like the original Legend of Zelda, because as far as I'm aware, it really hasn't gotten any sort of remake treatment.
Hasn't at all.
It has twice, actually.
Really?
Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so but heavy caveat here. Okay, this is also not including the second quest, which you could say is like a redo. But
that.
No, but it was actually remade twice for the Satellaview. But you could only get to play it in Japan.
But honestly,
but I mean full-fledged
for like
is what I'm talking.
Something along the lines of like Link Between Worlds. Like we got that for Link to the Past. We've never even had something like that, which was almost like a 1-to-1 copy plus your friends can play. Yeah. There's nothing like that for the original Zelda.
No.
And I think people would eat it up. They would love it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. Easily. Especially Zelda 2, I think, because they could probably improve a lot of the mechanics in the game that made it very difficult to begin with. Because I think there's a good game in there, but I think it's completely inaccessible for most people. You know, with Zelda 2, just because it's such a
I haven't played enough of it,
and it's so far removed from the rest of the series. That's the thing, because keep in mind when Zelda 2 came out, the series itself didn't know what it wanted to be. Even though Zelda 1, a lot of people loved for what it was at the time. But I feel like that old school top-down formula for Zelda, again, between what we're getting now with Link's Awakening, Link Between Worlds, Link to the Past. A lot of people say they want to remake Link to the Past, even though we kind of got that with Link Between Worlds in some way. I feel like that type of formula is what I feel like these Zelda remakes are going to be. I would love to see a remake of the Oracle games. I think that's another one that's a prime candidate that I think if this does well, that could definitely be a possibility down the line.
I think the best thing for the Oracle games would be make it like one game.
The Legend of Zelda, the Oracles.
Yeah, you could choose between the two games in the start menu.
Yeah.
And then you could choose the other game, you know, versus making it 2 games you have to purchase. Like that, because it's a remake, you know, like it's just allow the 2 pieces of content there. You know, and then you won't have to have some sort of, I mean, these days you wouldn't need this anyways, but with the Oracle games, you had a password system. You'd start at the new game and be like, hey, here's the password. I beat the other game. Now this game knows that I beat it. And then you could go back and forth with these passwords to get new items. Because the Oracle games were weird in that most Zelda games, when you beat the game, it's not like the game saved after you beat it. Your last save would be before the final boss. The Oracle games, you could save after you beat it. And so you could walk around the world that you saved, which was actually pretty cool. And you can continue playing because you continue to get these upgrades from the other version that you're playing and incorporating. So it was really neat. But it was a touch tedious to jump back and forth. So if they were to combine those two into one, but, you know, separate them out in terms of the gameplay,
Right.
then it could be a pretty fun experience, pretty unique. So, but yeah, in my thoughts on Link's Awakening, the remake, I don't mind the art style. I think it's fine. I think it'll be fun. It's cute. I dig it. I'm not really like a naysayer with that. I could really go either way.
No, I mean, I was fine with Toon Link when he made his debut, and I mean, Zelda's always been kind of on the edge, and like Breath of the Wild most recently, even like I feel like it took the best elements of like the Toon style and the best elements of like the realistic style and turned it into something that like you could have a big game with a bunch of varied environments on the Switch that was still expressive and detailed.
When you look at the original artwork for Link's Awakening, it's pretty chibi. It's not like 100% chibi, but it's like it's
a little bit more anime.
It's a little bit more anime, like a little more cutesy, you know. So like it makes sense. You know, I really think it does. I do hope that they add additional content though. I agree with you. I think that they're going to add like more Easter eggs and stuff, but I want them to not pull a Majora's Mask 3DS. And, you know, because Majora's Mask 3DS, they didn't do like a second quest or anything like that. It was kind of a little bit lazy.
You're just supposed to be happy that you're playing 3D
polished,
Zelda
basically.
on a handheld.
Yeah, pretty much. So I want them to go the extra mile. I feel like with Mario remakes, they really have fun. Like Mario Remake for the DS, like Mario 64 for the DS, it was almost like a new game. You got new characters, you got new levels, you got all this content. But with Zelda, it's like sacred. They're like afraid that they're going to mess something up, or they're afraid the fan base is going to get mad, but I want something new, you know, like give me something new. So I would like some additional content with that. I think,
and I kind of have a hunch that they will. I have no reason to believe that, but just it seems like they're putting enough attention to this game that it wouldn't make sense for them to not add any content.
It reminds me of Samus Returns. Like Samus Returns is a remake of Metroid 2 on Game Boy, and like that one, even though it's still the same storyline and stuff, it still felt like there was enough put into it that made it feel new, enough newer stuff afterwards, you know, with the new suits and all that other stuff, and connecting it to the rest of the Metroid series. Top of that, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get little threads here and there in this remake that connects to the rest of the Zelda timeline.
Yeah. Can you make sure that the door shut? Because otherwise, I think Thomas will be wandering in.
But I also think as well, I don't think this is the last Zelda remake we get.
Hold on 1 second, sorry.
Yeah,
Thomas,
sure.
is he out of the door?
Yeah, he's out.
Oh, okay, my toddler came home with my wife, and he was trying to break in.
But yeah, I was just saying that, like, I don't think this is the last Zelda remake we get. I think that especially if this does well, we're going to see more. And I think that the next prime candidate to get it would be the original NES Zelda.
Yeah. All right, so someone mentioned there's a little bit of lag in the chat here, so I'm going to lower the bit rate just a touch, just to make sure we're on the up and up here. Hopefully that solves any sort of issue that we have.
Hey now, Majora's Mask 3D had fishing ponds.
That's true. I did appreciate the fact that the fishing was like a beta element that they originally were going to utilize, but they ended up not. So I did appreciate that they did that, but I feel like they tinkered with the controls to make momentum not work as well, and other than that, like the fishing ponds didn't do that much for me. I was never one to like spend a ton of time fishing in Zelda, like a little bit,
too.
like not too much. So let's go ahead and talk about you a little bit, since you're our guest of honor.
Sure.
So for those of you just tuning in, this is Jakejames Lugo, and before this conversation, I was like, "Do you normally go by Jake? Do you normally go by James?" In conversation, he's like, "No, my name is Jakejames." And I'm like, oh.
It's one whole name.
It's one whole name.
It's weird.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm glad I asked that, because otherwise...
It's JJ for short, because that usually people call me JJ if they can't say Jake James. I've been called weird stuff like Jacob James, Jack James. I got called Hakeem one time. Like, no lie. As crazy as that sounds, somebody called me that. I was like, what? How did you even...
What? That's odd. Yeah, because in your videos, you refer to yourself to Jake James, but I thought maybe it was like a handle, like a Twitter handle or something. You know what I mean? Like where it's... You know, like people will have their name, but it's not their name. So I apologize for my...
No, nonsense. You're all good. You're all good.
So, and if you were here for the beginning, we kind of went over a little bit what he does, but he's a content producer, does a ton of writing for a lot of websites that you know, including the Coalition, IGN, among others. He makes a bunch of wiki guides. He's on YouTube, kind of a jack of all trades in the industry. And I thought it might be interesting to talk a little bit about... kind of, I guess, because we talked about the work that you have done in that previous intro. It might be interesting to talk about, you know, because everybody kind of wants to be, I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people want to be in the game industry. And I feel like, at least when we've contacted bigger sites in the past, it's like, you know, it's like when you apply for a job. It's really sending a resume down a black hole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, whether that resume...
lightly.
Yeah.
Here's a resume that looks like 8 million of the other resumes that you're looking for.
Their inbox might as well be a shredder. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you know, and it's gone into a million pieces. So I kind of wanted to talk about, like, I know that you'd mentioned that you did a like sort of a pro bono guide for IGN to sort of break in.
I did
there.
three. I did three of them.
Okay. So what was your process in terms of kind of getting to that point where you're like, okay, this is what I need to do? What did you do beforehand to try to get their attention? And what ultimately did you do to get their attention? And you could say with IGN or possibly another site that you've worked with. But I feel like that is sort of a juicy little nugget of information that I think a lot of us are just lacking, you know.
I'll give you more than that. I'll give you the whole rock because I think it's very applicable to everybody and not just on one particular website or the other. I think it could be applicable to any website you apply to any YouTube channel, even content creators that are smaller trying to work with other larger YouTubers. I think the first step towards anything else is one, speaking up and just going up to them and trying to talk with them, reaching out, doing this stuff every day when you can, or at least, you know, when you're able to do so, but doing it and actually making sure that you do it starting now. You know, without like giving yourself reason not to. And for me with IGN, a lot of it, when I first started like freelance for IGN or even just freelancing and trying to get into the industry, even before I came to the coalition, I was working at a dead-end job at Macy's and it was very boring. And I was like, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be like some of these old people selling suits that just suck. Like, I don't want to be around that. And it's like, you know, it's very boring. It's an unfulfilling, unfruitful life. And I was like, I love games and I want to know how I can make that work with stuff because I love talking about games. And I saw and kept listening to IGN podcasts, you know, between GameScoop, between Podcast Beyond, between all the different types of shows that they had over there. Even something like, you know, was it Anime Club or Yay Anime? I forgot what the exact podcast show it is, but it was like an anime specific podcast. Like all these different shows, I was like, there are people that are out there that are taking their love for whatever it is that they're down with and the discussion about it and turning it into a livable, like reasonable career. So why can't I do the same thing like that, whether it's on YouTube, Twitch, or otherwise? I was like, you know what? Let me go talk to some people. Let me go reach out to them over social media and see what can be done. And from there, all it started from that was just making a video. My first video on YouTube was me being in my closet, nonetheless, talking about Tatsunoko versus Capcom with the camera like this, like every other YouTuber does, the whack setup, the whack, pixel ratio, all this other stuff. But the point was I was doing it and I had something to say. And I took a lot of example from a lot of other YouTubers, content creators, and obviously a lot of the other media people for other websites, you know, not just IGN, but even Game Trailers, GameSpot, was it Giant Bomb, Kotaku, Polygon, even The Verge, and a whole bunch of other places where I really took in all the different examples that I had in front of me and actually saw what worked and what didn't and try to adapt into what I could do, what I could present. But all that came from actually just speaking up and actually putting myself out there because so many people get so caught up and intimidated about the fact of either failing or what other people are already doing that's working for them. Their stuff is not working for them right now that they never get started. It's like Greg Miller says it all the time on Kind of Funny. I'm sure you guys watch their show and about the other people watching this now have seen their Kind of Funny stuff that he's always says, like, listen, just start it now. It's like get started now. Start doing stuff. You're not trying to do it for views. You're not trying to do it for clout. You're trying to do it to hone your muscles and hone your craft, to get a backlog and portfolio that you can show people like, hey, I'm doing this stuff and I'm already adept and I'm already an excellent person when it comes to doing this type of content. And I'm ready for the next step. And that's how I felt. That's how I felt over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I was running cross country, my coach, this was back in high school, used to say that the hardest part about running was getting your shoes on. Because it's like once you get your shoes on, you're kind of committed at that point in time, and then once
it's true.
Yeah, and then once you get your shoes on, you're out the door. So it's like, you know, I say that a lot, and it really, you know, when you want to do something that you love and you care about, really the only difference between doing it now and later is that you're wasting time. You know what I mean? Or that you could have already accomplished something, and now you haven't. Right now you've wasted a part of your life or whatever, just sort of being either complacent or nervous or whatever. And I think that's
applicable to everything.
Yeah,
honestly,
that's why I think that's really good advice that people need to hear, because I mean it's I mean, I think, for example, in high school I was very I was outgoing in some ways, but I was also very nervous and shy in other ways, and like public speaking made me nervous and this and that and blah blah blah. And now I just do not care. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't give. Maybe it's because I used to teach martial arts. So I used to have to get up in front of people. You know what I mean? But it's like I've officiated a couple of weddings. You know, but it's like it's just a matter of doing it.
Actually doing it,
like actually doing it,
and also people telling you and encouraging you to do so. I think that one of the biggest problems that I see, not just with games media people, but even with content creators on YouTube, is that they give people all this other advice about doing stuff, your setup, your process, and all these other stuff, rather than just being like, listen, whatever you have working for you right now, whatever you got in front of you, instead of getting so caught up on buying and spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on your equipment to do something, why not just do it with the stuff you got now, and everything else will fall into place later.
Yeah, I think that's also why I do a lot of the logistics with Hard4Games. Because I'm like, let's go, let's do it. As I phlegm out in my throat here. I'm like, I've been smoking a pack a day here.
But yeah, that was always the advice that people gave me when I was in music. Obviously, I didn't decide to finish that path, but the first thing that they always suggested was to just do stuff. You don't have to be perfect to learn.
Yeah.
And then the second piece of advice that kind of went along with that was, if you start something, finish it. Because you learn so much more from having a complete product and taking a look at it and seeing what does and doesn't work, versus like getting halfway through and then just tinkering everything, trying to get stuff to fit together, and then you end up basically just not starting all over.
You got to make some garbage and complete that garbage.
Even if you fail.
Move forward. Yeah, exactly. So what are some of the things that you did to sort of get their attention? You mentioned that you would reach out to individuals on social, I'm assuming sending emails. Like, what did you,
I did a combination of everything, and that's the thing that people don't really fully understand unless you've actually done it. Literally everything. That includes reaching out over social media, and I'm talking about reaching out over social media in a way that doesn't come off as creepy and doesnto come off as obsessive or comes off as like needy. Because people are always trying to hit up other people over social media, like, hey, check this out, look at my stuff, let me start talking to this person, maybe I could get ahead of stuff. No, you can't come at it like that. It's cool to kind of inject yourself in the conversation every once in a while, but every once in a while also just like talk to people like normal people, not just looking at them as like they're internet celebrities or looking at them as like they're the person that's going to change your life like that. It just comes from a matter of just speaking to them. And then that goes for social media, that goes for emails. More importantly, and I think specifically for games media and even people on YouTube that, you know, content creators, going to events, actually putting yourself out there and actually going to PAX, going to your local conventions, going to an E3, a Comic-Con, whatever else. I started off going to local conventions down here in Florida. I went to my first industry event for gaming was PAX East, which was, again, when I first came to the coalition, but my first ever event that I ever went to was a New York Comic-Con. And I just went as a fan to look to see like what was going on. I was there for the weekend. And from there, that's where it grew from that point. But I still put myself out there, not to go around and pass business cards and stuff, but just to put myself out there and talk to people, or just to be around that atmosphere. When I went to my first E3, and everything just clicked for me. It just saw as like, now, okay, I wasn't so worried about the fact like, oh, just getting to a specific point to be around these people. Now I'm around these people, and now they're looking at me as like one of their peers. And that's when everything just starts snowballing after that.
Yeah, so to that point, and not to